In today's video, we are going to look at all the defenses against Greek gift. Actually, the I'm going to tell you that what is the Greek gift. The Greek gift is that we are going to. This is just a sample example of a game, and this game was actually played between what I would say that. Mm, sorry, this game was actually played between where the data went out for. Yeah, Dimit Rachi, Dragos Nikolai versus Peter Cavals. And the this is just a sample. I want to just show you. We will skip the opening d4, d5, now c4, e6, now knight c3, c6, and this is semi-slave defense. And now knight to f3, knight f6, e3, knight bd7, bishop d3, bishop d6. All standard moves. It is called now the semi-slave defense, Chigoran defense. This moves actually is called the Chigoran defense. Now castle, castle e4, d into e4, knight into e4, knight into e4, bishop into e4, and here black played the move rook to e8. And remember now the what is the Greek gift? The Greek gift is that you are going to pick up, sacrifice your bishop over here on h7, and whenever the king takes it, you are going to give the check over here on g4, and then you are going to continue the checkmate pattern on the h5, and we are going to see it in the game. After rook e1, he played the move c5, and from over here, remember that this Greek gift pattern always comes into play when there is no knight over here on f6. The knight is not on f6, and usually the rook is not over here on f8. The defense of these two pawns on h7 and f7 is not available, and you have your dark square bishop which is protecting this g5 square where your knight comes. Remember this in your mind. And from over here, our actual position starts. Now bishop into h7, check. And from over here, you are going to calculate that if you are going to give the check, black takes it, you are going to give the check on g4. Whether the king is going to go back, and if he goes back, you bring your queen to h5. Now see, I'm going to show you in the game. Bishop into h7 check, king into h7, and now knight g5 check. The point is that the king has to come forward, and this is the best play to play. And white has already an advantage. The attack would be very fast. What happens if the king goes back to g8? The point is that now queen h5. Now it is threatening check over here. Remember, I told you that this pawn is not protected over here. I told you that in this position, when the f7 pawn and h7 pawn both are not protected, you went out for this Greek gift. The attack over here on h7, sacrifice your bishop, and you have your dark square bishop. It protects this square on g5. That when you give the check, this knight is being protected. So I'm going to just show you knight g7, g5 check. The point is that if king to g8, now queen h5, and this pawn is not being protected. The best try in this position for black is to just sacrifice his bishop, giving back the piece. But the king can just move over here, king to f1. Then at least try to defend the position by playing the move queen f6. But now queen into queen h7 check. King has to move. King to f8. Now knight e4. And it would not be easy for black to defend. What black can try in this position? He can play the move queen to g6, but now queen h8 check. King has to move to e7, and now queen into h2. The point is that now it is threatening over here. And roundabout, white is winning in this position. So the best try in this position for black is to bring his king forward. And that's from over here, we are going to check out all the black's defenses. One is rook to h8. This is one of the defenses. The second defense is he might play the move knight to b8, knight to b6, knight to f8. He can play the move queen f6. He can play the move f5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And rook to f8. 7. These are the 7 defenses black has in this position. And you people must remember the pattern. What is the pattern? The pattern is that whether you are going to play the move h4 or are you going to play the move g4. These are the two moves. The third is, if these pieces are somewhere else placed, you are going to play the move queen to f6. This is one. Queen to d3 check. Remember that h4, g4, queen f6, queen d3 check. There is one thing more, and that is you can play the move b4. And if he takes it, you're going to play the move d5. The point is that you are vacating all these squares for your bishop to take control of this whole diagonal. So, what are the attack? How you are going to continue the attack? One is h4, second is g4, queen d3, queen f6. You are going to play the move b4. You are going to play the move d5. You are going to bring your bishop over here to take control of this whole diagonal. And there is one more move, and that is rook to e5. The point of this rook to e5 is that you stop this bishop from controlling this square. And you want your pawn to be over here. And you're going to see all of this. So, after queen g6, we are going to look at the first continuation, that is the h4. That how to continue the attack and what are the black defensive chances. Here the black's best move to defend is 1 f5. The second move is queen to f6. These are two moves. The third move is queen e7. And the best move in this position is actually the f5. The queen f6 loses and queen e6 also loses. I'm going to show you that why queen f6 loses. Because now h5 check, king moves to h6. Now knight e4 check picks up the queen. Because the king would have to move knight into queen check. So he can't play the move queen f6. What happens if you play the move queen e7? Still you go for the move h5 check. The king moves to h6, into h6. But now, how to continue? Remember this thing, queen to g4. The point is that you are going to give the check in this way, and you're going to saying that I'm going to checkmate you on g7. So the best try for black would be to play the move f6 in this position, but now knight f7 check, king has to move back. You give check on g6, king has to move to g8. Now knight into d6. The point of this knight into d6 is that the queen takes, you pick up the rook, and it is just a game over for black. So what is the best try in this position for black is to play the move f5. This is the best try for him. And how you are going to continue? This knight is being protected, this bishop. So you played the move h4 to give the check over here on h5. Now, if the best move for black is to play the move king to f6. But what happens if you play the move queen king to h6? Now knight into e6 and you pick up the queen. So he has to play the move king to f6. And now how you are going to continue? Now here comes the pattern, which is, I told you that you are going to sacrifice a pawn, then the second pawn, and bring this bishop on the long diagonal. So b4, remember that. Remember the sequence. Remember the sequence over here. h4, the best try for black is to play the move f5. You give him the check. The king has to move to f6. And now the move is b4. And he can't take it immediately. If he takes it, now the move is first c5. The bishop has to move. And if he defends the bishop, for example, now how to continue? d5. Remember, I told you, you want your bishop to be opened on this diagonal. And if it takes this pawn, you first give the check, queen d4 check. He has to play the move e5. Now you can pick up the knight. And if you play the move bishop check, then black has the advantage because he can pick the knight. So you can't go for the bishop check immediately because your knight is being unprotected over here. So you would go for the move first, queen d4 check. His best defense is to play the move e5. You are going to play the move queen into c5. He will try to exchange the queens, but now you bring your queen back, protecting this knight, and you are going to play the move bishop to b2. And he can't play the move, for example, over here f5. The reason behind is that knight e4 check picks up the queen. So you have understood over here that what would happen if he plays the move. You place the move h4. This is the first pattern you must keep in mind. Now we come back to our second pattern, and that is the move g4. And this was actually played in the game. And here, against g4, black has three defenses: knight to b6, knight to b8, knight to f8. The reason of all these defenses is that black wants this square over here on d7 to be vacant for his king to escape. This is the reason. So that's why I'm going to show you knight f8 was played in the game. But I'm going to show you that what happens if he plays the move knight b8. You will continue with the move h4. Again, remember I told you the pattern. h4, g4. You may continue one of the moves. Whether you can go for the h4 or you may go with the g4 first. So in this version, you place the move h4. If he brings his knight to b8, now still his best defense is to play the move f5. And now you play the move queen f3. Why queen f3? The point is that black can't take this pawn because this is going to be a checkmate. I'm going to show you that why. If he takes the pawn, it is a mate in 5. Queen f7 check, king h6, knight into e6 check. He has to bring his bishop into the check, bishop into f4 check. He has to push the pawn. Now h into g5 check, queen into g5, bishop into g5 checkmate. So he can't take the pawn. Remember the pattern. I'm going to show you again. If you place the move knight to b8, then you are going to play the move h4. Okay. His best try is to play the move f5. Now you went out for the move queen f3. He can't take it because it will be a checkmate in 5. So his best defense is to play the move knight c6. The point of this knight c6 move is that now it is controlling this important square e5. Now g into f5 check, e into f5. And now why you played the move h4? You are going to give the check over here, h5 check. And over here he can't play the move king to f6. It is not better for him. The reason behind is that knight h7 check. He would have to go back. And now queen d5 check. He will have to bring the bishop over here in the defense. Now rook into e6. After if takes rook into e6, now knight g5 check and rook falls. So his best try in this position is actually to go for the check over here, but king to bishop and queen h4 check. Going to go for something checks, but he will just come out of the checks very soon. He would have no checks at all. Knight to g5 check, and queen will have to pick up this knight. So you have understood this thing also, that what happens if he plays the move king to f6. So in this version he has to play the move king to h6, getting into the discovered check. So king h6. Now rook e6 check, and that is the beauty. Remember this pattern. Why rook e6 check? The point is that when bishop takes this rook, now knight into e6 check, and you're going to pick up the queen. And with whatever he plays, the king can't move anywhere. If he tries to defend it, for example, by playing the move like this, then what happens? Rook into g6, it is a checkmate. So remember this. I'm going to show you again. Remember this. If you go for the move g4 and he went out for the move knight to b8, one of the defenses, now queen to for example h4. Now he went out for the move f5. Now f3. He can't take it. The point is that he can't take it. He will have to bring his knight over here to control this square. But now g into f5 check, e into f5 check. Now h5 check. King has to move. Sorry, king has to move to h6. But you must have keep in mind this check. Now e6 check and bishop into e6 check, knight into e6 check, and you pick up the queen. So this was actually one of the versions. Another version, if you went out, he went out for the move knight to b8. But what happens if he plays the move knight to b6? If he plays the move knight to b6, you are going to continue not with the move h4. You are going to continue with the move queen to you are going to continue queen to f3 first. Now queen to f3, and still he has to play the move f5. And over here, the best move is d into c5. After bishop into c5, the point of this d into c5 is that you have vacant this diagram. You are going to play the move now h4. Same pattern, gun same, but in this version you are picking up this pawn over here on c5. Now bishop b4 by black, and now the move is bishop b5 by black. Sorry, my net is not working properly at present. Over here, how you are going to continue? You are going to continue with the move rook d1, threatening the queen, and the queen has to move queen to e7. Now h3, the bishop will have to move back, bishop to e6. Now first rook into bishop, queen into rook. Now h5 check. King has to move to h6 into the check. Now knight e4 check picks up the queen. So this was actually one of another defense which I have showed you. That what happens if he plays move knight to b6. Now we are going to come to our the main line over here where he played the move knight to f8. And there was one more thing that I wanted to show you, that if he plays the move, for example, in this version he can't play the move immediately rook to h8. If he plays the move, for example, trying to defend this pawn over here by playing the move rook f8, you still go for the move queen f3. Here he can't play the move f5. The point is that this check. If he tries to defend it by playing the move knight to f6, now you can give the check over here, and it is just a mate in 1. So what he can do in this position? He can still have to go for the move knight to b6, trying to vacate this square for the movement of his king when he plays the move f5, then like this. He wanted to run away. The one thing, and the second thing is that he want to push the pawn and want take control of these light squares. And the third thing is that when he plays the move f5, his bishop is protecting this pawn. This is the concept actually. And he plays the move knight b6. Remember what you are going to do? You are going to play push the pawn h4. Pattern is roundabout same. Just remember that when you are going to play the move queen f3, and when you are going to play the move h4, and when you are going to play the move b4, remember just that. So in the game he went out for the move knight to f8. Now how to continue? Now you are going to give the check over here, queen to d3, taking control of this diagonal first. So queen d3 check. He plays the move f5. Now queen h3. A very beautiful move. What happens if you take the pawn? Then the black would have the edge because now e into f5, and after rook into e8, queen into e8, you have the problem, back rank problem. And if you try to play the move bishop to d2, his everything is being protected because now knight h7. So remember, you have played the move g4. I'm going to show you that bishop uh, bishop keep the check, king into bishop. Now knight g4 check, king to g6. You may continue with the move g4. Now if you place the move knight to f8, what are you going to do? You are going to give the check over here first, and when he stops it with the move f5, you are going to bring the queen over here to h3, threatening the check over here on h5. Now f5, queen h3. Now he plays the move f4, saying that I'm stopping the defense of this knight over here, but now you have this check. Queen h5 check. King has to move, king f6. And now remember, I told you that there is one sequence of the moves where you are going to put your rook over here on e5. Why rook e5? Why not d into c5 over here? Still it is okay. But the best move in this position is rook e5. What happens if you just take up this pawn? Now the bishop has to move back because he must protect this pawn. He can't take it. And now you give the check, knight e4 check. King has to move back. Now bishop d2 first. You are bringing your bishop to over here. You are going to push the pawn. Now he plays the move g6. Now queen h8. It becomes little bit uh, complicated actually, the attack. But still the attack is very dangerous because king f7. King can't move over here because now you are going to play the move b4 first. He plays the move a6. You are going to play the move b5. If it takes it, you take it. Now he brings the move rook to a4, going after this knight, but now rook ed1. You have taken control of all these escape routes of this king. This bishop can't move. This bishop is already being struck. So that's why over here in this position, the best defense for him is to play the move king to f7, but now h4. Still you are going to play the move g4, h4. But remember the reply of your opponent and then continue with your plan. So over here, the best move in this position is to play the move rook to e5, and this was played in the game. The point of this rook to e5 is that if bishop takes into the rook, now d into e5 check, the king has to take it. What happens if he goes over here? Now it is just a mate in one. So he has to take this pawn. And now knight in f7 check picks up the queen. So what is the best defense for black in this position? he must play the move knight to g6. But now does not protect, uh, um, let your rook stay over where it is. You are going to just pick up the pawn. The point is that knight can't pick up this pawn because still it is mate in 1. So he would have to go for the move rook f8, but now knight h7 check, king f7. Now how to continue? Knight g5 check, king f6, knight e4 check, king to f7. Now knight into d6 check, getting rid of the defender of these dark squares. If queen picks it up, how to continue? Rook f5 check wins the queen. So you must keep it, just bring the board in front of yourself, and on the board do all of these moves practice, that you does not miss them when you got a chance went out for the Greek gift for the sacrifice of the bishop on h7, and the king had to come to g6, and you give the check and you bring your queen over here. Remember the patterns, all of the patterns. So in the game he went out for the move queen d7. The point of this queen d7 move was that it was protecting this pawn, and now black wants his escape route over here for the king. But now he went out for the move bishop into f4. He took the rook, but now bishop into e5 check. King has to move back. King to e7. Now knight to f7. And here actually he made a mistake. The best move in this position was to take the pawn over here. The reason behind is that if black tries to just go over here, now you can give the check. He can't move over here on this square because this square is being protected by the bishop. And the point is that if he tries, for example, he plays the move, any move like b6, now bishop t6 check, and queen would have to take this bishop. Otherwise, if he just goes over here, now knight f6 check, queen has to pick up, but pick the knight, queen into f7, and there is no way. This is just a mate in 9. So he went out for the move queen e7, king e7, but knight to f7, and this allowed actually black a little bit of escape route, and that was he played the move queen 2 over here a4. The point was that to vacate this square, light square d7 for his king, but the best move try was in this game was to play the move rook d8. Now black king has this escape route. If knight picks it, now king can take the rook, and black has control of these two light squares, and one of the attacker has been gone. But still black is white is completely been winning, because now d into c5, and after that he's going to play the move like g4 and going to pin the queen to the king. So his best try might be a5, but now queen h8 first, attacking the knight. The queen would have to move to e8. Now you can give the check, rook t1 check, bishop d7, but now queen into g7, and it is just completely destroyed position for black. In the game he went out for the move queen to a4, and it is just a mate in 8. Do you see how it is a mate in 8? Yes. The point is that bishop check. King has king to d7. Now queen into c5. Now white is threatening mate over here. So how to stop it? By playing the move. One escape route over here for the king. But now queen first. He just went out for the move d5, but actually it was a mate in 5 over here. Queen to c7 check. King e7. Now d into e5. There is no way to stop the checkmate. This knight coming over here is going to be checkmate. But he came out for the move d5, but now knight to e6, and this was actually the easy one. You can see that this is going to be check. There is no way that he'll stop it. Knight to e5 check. King moves back. Now bishop c7 check. The point of this is that queen is come over here and going to give the checkmate in 2. Just knight into c7, knight f7 check first, king d7, and now queen to d6 check. So in the end, I'm going to remember the pattern which starts after king g6, g4, h4, queen d3, queen to f3. Remember the b4 moves and this rook e5 move. Remember all these moves in your mind and practice that how you have to continue. The black defenses would be f5, knight to f8, knight to b6, knight to b8. There is one line I am missing that, and that one is rook to h8, but I am missing that at present. Rook f8. We have worked all on all of the defenses of the black. So I would suggest you people that you take the original board in front of yours, and then you watch this video and practice the moves on the board. Memorize them actually. If you like my video, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you very much.